The hunt for the bison ended in catastrophe. One primitive man lay dead, his chest pierced by a horn. Another was gravely injured, his leg crushed, writhing in agony. The third was cornered against the cliff, holding only a broken piece of wood, his only weapon shattered. The air was freezing cold, thick with the stench of blood. The tribe faced disaster. The giant bison did not leave. The wound from the stone spear was too shallow, only making it angrier.
Its body matted with mud and dark stains.
It stood towering, eyes blazing red, breath steaming in the cold air. The primitive man trapped against the cliff had nowhere to escape. The beast began pawing the ground, gathering strength, aiming at the wounded man lying on the ground.
Fur and large curved horns.
It prepared to finish off the hunters. The earth trembled as the massive creature charged forward. Driven to desperation, the primitive man grabbed a dry branch wedged between the rocks to defend himself. The bison charged, its horns caught on the branch. The branch bent violently under the pressure, then flung the primitive man against the cliff. When the beast yanked its horns free, the branch snapped back. A sharp splinter from the broken tip flew straight into the beast's eye. Blinded and in unbearable pain, the bison panicked and fled. The primitive man stared at the quivering branch. After the beast fled, the primitive man turned to the one who was badly injured. With extraordinary effort, he lifted his companion and supported him to walk. They began their slow, painful journey back to the cave. The crushed leg of the wounded man dragged along the ground, leaving a long trail of blood. stench of blood clung to them. The burden was immense, yet he continued to pull his companion along. The long blood trail attracted scavengers. Cave hyenas appeared. At first, they were only shadows. Then, an entire pack emerged. They did not attack immediately. They circled around, keeping their distance, surrounding the two primitive men. Their eyes were fixed on the wounded one. The scent of blood and approaching death excited them. The primitive man set his wounded companion down, leaning him against a rock, and stood in front of him, ready to fight. The primitive man was exhausted. He swung a branch and threw stones, but the hyenas were not afraid. One lunged forward, biting the wounded man's leg. He roared, threw away the useless branch. And grabbed a sharp stone, stabbing the hyena to death. The sudden ferocity made the pack retreat. He quickly dragged the wounded one back to the cave, safe in the darkness. Then, he looked back at the branch. He tried to bend it, but it did not spring back. It was just a piece of wood. He had to find a way to control that power. Inside the dark cave, the wounded man was slowly dying from an infected wound. Fever made him tremble uncontrollably. A woman tried to stitch the wound using a bone needle and animal tendons. In the shadowed corner, the primitive man was haunted by the branch. He paid no attention to the dying one. He took a strip of leather, tied it to both ends of the branch, and tried to bend it. He pulled the leather cord, but it stretched too much, creating no rebound. It only retracted slowly. Frustrated, he threw the leather strap away. The wounded man suddenly went into violent convulsions. His body slammed against the cave floor. The woman tried to keep the wound closed. She gripped the tendon she was using to stitch and pulled it tight. The tendon did not stretch like leather. It was rigid and firm. As the wounded man thrashed, the spasms transferred through the tendon, making it tremble intensely. tendon vibrated sharply but did not break, holding its tension. The primitive man saw the taut tendon quivering. He understood immediately. He rushed over, shoved the woman aside, and grabbed the remaining roll of tendon, retreating into the dark corner. He braided 3 tendons together to make a thick, strong cord. He tied the braided tendon to the flexible branch, bending it. He pulled it back to test. The tendon did not stretch. Instead, the branch bent. When he released his hand, the tendon snapped forward with terrifying speed, striking his wrist. The primitive man now had a new weapon. He needed something to launch. He picked up a straight, smooth stick. He placed it against the tendon string, pulled the branch taut, and released his hand. The stick was pushed forward but did not fly. It tumbled through the air and fell to the ground. He tried again, pulling the string tighter. The stick flew a bit farther but still spun chaotically, unstable. It had power, but he could not control its direction. He moved toward the cave entrance. Outside, a few children were playing. A large wolf was stalking nearby, its yellow eyes fixed on them. Other primitive people spotted the wolf. They threw stones to drive it away. The stones flew off target, landing too far. The wolf was not afraid. It only stepped back slightly, then continued circling, testing the tribe. The man stood still, looking at the wolf, then at the useless weapon in his hand. One child imitated the adults, throwing its toy toward the wolf. It was a stick, but at its tail were 3 bird feathers. The stick flew straight, steady, and true. It traveled far and struck the ground right in front of the wolf.
Fletched on the
Startled,
tail end with 3
the
dark
animal fled in
feathers bound
fear.
by thin sinew.
The primitive man was stunned. He walked out, picked up the toy, and studied the feathers. He placed the feathered stick on the tendon string. He pulled it taut. He released his hand. The stick shot out fast and straight, embedding itself deep into a distant tree trunk.
A straight, well-crafted stick, fletched on the tail end with 3 dark feathers bound by thin sinew.
The primitive man left the cave alone. He carried his new weapon and feathered sticks. He had to test them. Moving through the forest, he focused on finding tracks of prey. He crouched to examine a fresh footprint, eyes fixed on the ground. He did not realize that while he was stalking, he was also being stalked. A large jaguar, perfectly camouflaged in the shadows, was silently creeping behind him. The predator moved without a sound, always staying behind, waiting for the right moment. The primitive man stopped. He spotted a hare in the bushes. Slowly, he raised his weapon, eyes locked on the target. He prepared for the test shot. The jaguar also stopped. It saw that he was distracted. This was the moment. The muscles in its hind legs tightened. It leaped out of the bushes. The jaguar soared through the air in a long, silent jump, mouth wide open, claws extended. aiming straight for the back of his neck. He caught only a blur of movement. His body reacted before his mind could. In panic, he spun around and raised his weapon. There was no time to aim. He pulled the tendon string slightly and released instantly. The arrow flew and struck the jaguar's shoulder in mid-air. The impact threw the beast off balance. It crashed to the ground beside him. The jaguar froze, staring at the stick lodged in its shoulder, then at him. For the first time, the predator hesitated. Growling, it turned and fled. He realized the sharpened stick was not enough. It needed to be sharper. He returned to the cave exhausted. Inside, the air was heavy. The wounded man was dead. The tribe was silent. The woman looked up and saw him with the bow on his shoulder. She stood up abruptly, pointing at him, her face twisted in anger. The other men rose too, gripping their spears tightly. They formed a wall, blocking his way. Their eyes were filled with hostility. He had been cast out by the tribe. Rejected, he retreated into the dark corner. There, he found the broken spear of the dead man, with its shattered flint tip. He looked at his sharpened sticks. They were not enough. He needed something sharper. He smashed a large piece of flint, choosing one sharp shard. He began to work, Using a pebble, he carefully struck the edges of the flint shard, chipping off small flakes. He worked tirelessly in the darkness, guided only by touch. His hands bled from the sharp stone cuts, but he did not stop. He meticulously shaped the stone. When dawn came, the woman saw him asleep in the corner. Exhausted, his hands were covered in dried blood. Beside him, on the cave floor, lay a feathered stick. But its tip was different. A small, perfectly triangular piece of flint had been tightly attached to its end. He had used thin tendon strands, wrapped intricately, to secure the stone head. The morning light shone in, glinting off the razor, sharp edge of the arrowhead. A complete weapon had been born. The tribe was starving. The children were emaciated, lying still. The old hunting spears lay dusty in the corner. The primitive man stood up. He ignored the others and walked to his corner. He picked up the bow. Carefully, he checked the quiver. Inside were 5 completed arrows, each tipped with a sharp, tightly bound flint head. He slung the quiver over his shoulder and gripped the bow firmly. Without looking back, he stepped out of the cave and into the faint light of dawn. He was not hunting rabbits or deer. He returned to the canyon where his kin had fallen. He searched for traces of the giant beast. He found it. The steppe bison stood alone. He recognized the scar over its eye, the wound from the rebounding branch. It was the same one. The beast recognized him too. It caught his scent, saw his shape. Instantly, the bison lowered its head, pawed the ground, roared in fury, and charged straight at him. The ground shook, but this time, he did not retreat. He stood firm, raising his bow. He drew the tendon string tight. When the beast was 20 paces away, he released the first arrow it buried deep into its chest. The creature staggered but kept charging. He stepped back once, calmly knocked the second arrow and fired, striking its neck. The beast collapsed to its knees but did not stop. He fired a third arrow, piercing straight into its only remaining eye. The giant creature froze, then fell, dead before him. He returned and led the woman to the prey. Seeing the massive carcass and the bow, she believed. Together, they began carving the meat. Using sharp flint knives, they sliced through the thick hide. The work was exhausting. They climbed over the body, cutting out large slabs of flesh, fat, and ribs. Steam rose from the beast's body. They worked with hands covered in blood. Around them lay a feast of meat. The tribe would be saved. A massive shadow swept across them. Both froze and looked up. giant eagle was circling high above. Its wingspan was longer than the man's height. Its eyes were locked on the pile of meat. The woman, terrified, stepped back. By instinct, when such a predator appeared, the only way to survive was to run and hide. The sky was its domain. The enormous eagle folded its wings and dove like a black arrow, aiming straight for the choicest piece of flesh. The great bird plunged downward. The woman crouched, covering her head. The man did not retreat. He grabbed the bow, fitted a flint, tipped arrow. He drew it back, aiming straight at the sky. When the eagle was right above, ready to strike, he released. The arrow shot upward, piercing one of its wings. The giant bird convulsed in mid-air. It lost balance, staggering, nearly falling, wounded. The Lord of the Sky hastily flew away, struggling to escape. The woman looked up. The sky was no longer untouchable. The two returned, carrying heavy chunks of meat. But at the cave entrance, they were blocked. The strongest remaining hunter, along with two others, stood in their way. He held a heavy flint, tipped spear. His eyes were not on the meat. He stared directly at the bow hanging on the man's chest. He pointed at the bow, then struck his own chest hard. The message was clear: that new weapon, that power, must belong to the strongest. He gave a signal. The two others moved to the sides, lowering their spears and pointing the tips toward the pair. They were ready to attack. Instantly, the two dropped the meat. Both drew arrows and set them on the bowstrings. The standoff began. 3 heavy spears, the weapons of brute strength, against 2 bows, the weapons of distance. The spear. Wielder believed the other man was weak, too hesitant to shoot his own kind. He gripped his spear tighter, preparing to charge. The moment he lunged forward, the archer drew and fired. He did not aim for the chest or the head. The flint-tipped arrow struck straight into his knee. He collapsed instantly, screaming in pain. His spear falling to the ground, the 2 remaining spearmen froze in shock. The archer calmly placed a second arrow. The woman was also holding her bow, aiming directly at them. Realizing their helplessness, the 2 slowly dropped their spears to the ground in surrender. The power of muscle had been defeated. The order of the tribe had changed. Time passed, and the tribe once again faced famine. The strongest spear, wielding hunter, now crippled, sat silently in the corner. But the bow hunter, the only one who could bring back food, had collapsed. He was infected, burning with fever, his body trembling. The entire tribe depended on one man. The bow, their most powerful weapon, lay useless beside him. It was nothing more than a piece of wood when the only one who knew how to wield it was dying. The woman tried to save the tribe. She attempted to draw his large bow, but it was too heavy. Her strength was not enough. She had to take her smaller bow instead. She went hunting alone. She shot at a wild boar, but the arrow from her weak bow could not pierce its thick hide. The boar, enraged, charged back, injuring her leg. Panicked. She fled. She returned to the cave empty, handed and wounded. The tribe sank into despair. In delirium, the bow hunter saw the starving tribe. He realized if he died, the knowledge of the bow would die with him. One hunter was not enough.
One inventor.
He struggled to sit up,
is
pointing
not
at the
enough.
woman and the other young,
If he falls silent,
strong men.
the technology.
He gestured toward the pile of raw wood, the stored tendons, and the flint stones. He mimed the motions of braiding tendons, shaping stone. The woman understood. It was not about one bow, but many bows. Not one hunter, but all. She had to teach them. Hunger drove the tribe. He had recovered, and she hurried to make new weapons. He chose a branch, noticing a small wooden knot, but ignored it. He carved the wood hastily. She braided the tendon string carelessly. A young, muscular hunter who once wielded spears impatiently grabbed the unfinished bow and the flawed braided string. He tied it himself. The bow was bent unevenly, but he didn't care. He saw the knot but said nothing. They needed to hunt immediately. The new hunting party entered the valley. They spotted a large herd of bison. He signaled, organizing the attack. He and the woman approached from the front, while the three newcomers circled to the sides. Once everyone was in position, the impatient hunter with the flawed bow stood upright, revealing their location. The herd instantly spotted them. It was too late. He signaled the attack.
No, Varo! Get back!
The young hunter drew the faulty bow. Using brute strength, he pulled the string to its limit. He pulled too hard. The branch couldn't withstand the strain. At the wooden knot, the bow snapped violently. A sharp splinter, whipped by the tensioned string, shot backward and pierced the hunter's eye. He fell, convulsing. The other two panicked and dropped their weapons. Seeing this, the bison herd turned and charged. He ordered a retreat. The hunt had failed, and another man was lost. He looked at the broken splinter, then at his own perfect bow. The tribe now ruled the land.
The sun is low. We must reach the caves before dark.
Almost there.
The hunters, armed with superior weapons, moved without caution. They no longer felt fear. They hunted wastefully. They brought down 3 deer, but took only the finest cuts, leaving most of the carcasses for scavengers. The valley was littered with old bones. When a herd of wild horses saw them from afar, it fled immediately. The hunters didn't care. They already had enough meat. The food supply ran out once more. The tribe was hungry again. He led the hunting party back to the valley. But the valley was silent. No animals. Where herds of deer and horses once roamed, there was only emptiness. The wind whispered through pale bones. The tribe had overhunted, prey had fled or been wiped out. After hours of searching, they finally spotted a small herd of deer, but the animals were extremely alert. He and his group carefully crawled through the grass, approaching the deer. Just as he raised his bow, one of the deer spotted him. The prey recognized the shape of the bow hunter. The entire herd bolted before he could even draw an arrow. The hunters returned empty-handed.
Tactic failed. The prey has adapted. The arms race has begun.
He realized the prey had adapted. Weapons were no longer enough. He needed to change his hunting strategy. He began to think about driving prey into traps or using snares. Inside the dark cave, the tribe was starving. The blind hunter and the one with the injured leg sat in silence. An old woman rose. She pointed at the wounded. then at the empty meat racks. After that, she pointed directly at the bow hunter. She mimed the old hunting method using the spear, striking with full strength. Then she pointed at the bow, miming the gentle pull of its string. And shook her head. The tribe, hungry and afraid, began looking at him with anger in their eyes.
She found it. We must go now.
Yes, quickly, take the spears.
The old woman and the crippled hunter led the furious crowd. They advanced toward the corner where the bow hunter sat, intent on seizing the bows. A man rushed forward, trying to snatch the weapon from his hands. He and the woman jumped up. The crowd pressed in, forcing them to step back. They retreated until their backs hit the stone wall. They had been cornered, with no way out. The wall of bodies closed in. The crippled hunter pointed his spear at the bow hunter's chest. The old woman raised her hand, demanding they surrender their weapons. Both drew their arrows and set them on the string at the same time. They raised their bows, aiming the flint, tipped arrows directly at the crowd. The tribe froze, stunned. They had been driven to the edge. They faced an impossible choice to shoot their own kind, or to give up the weapons that had once saved them all. confrontation was broken by a movement at the cave entrance. A step wolf appeared, then a second, then a third. A whole pack had blocked the exit. They had sensed the tribe's weakness and division. Instantly, the internal conflict vanished. The old woman and the crippled hunter stepped back. The two bow hunters turned, aiming their arrows at the new threat. The entire tribe was now trapped inside the cave, besieged by a common enemy. The siege dragged on. The tribe was exhausted from hunger. On the third night, the wolves attacked.
The steppe wolves are no longer patient.
Two of them lunged straight toward the fire. The spear bearers fought back desperately. One managed to stab a wolf, but the beast bit down hard on the shaft.
Get back! It's attacking!
The second wolf seized the opening, slipping past and attacking the hunters. In the cramped space, the long spears became a hindrance. The defensive line of spears collapsed. From deep within the darkness, an arrow flew, striking down the wolf mid-attack. A second arrow followed, killing the other. A third wolf charged in and was also shot dead. The wolves outside froze. They could not understand how their packmates were dying when the enemy stood far away. The crippled hunter and the old woman stared at the three dead bodies, then looked toward the shadows. The bow hunter stepped forward, calmly drawing another arrow. His eyes were fixed on the cave entrance. The siege remained deadlocked. The wolves refused to leave. The alpha wolf sat on a distant rock, just beyond range. It was clever, merely waiting. The hunter raised his bow, aiming at the alpha. He knew the arrow could not reach that far. Frustrated, he lowered his bow. The wolves controlled the exit. The tribe was trapped, starving to death. The hunter stepped back, staring at the campfire. An idea came to him. He gathered materials: a lump of sticky tree resin and a handful of dry grass used for kindling. He took a wooden arrow. He smeared resin onto its tip, then wrapped the dry grass tightly around it, forming a small bundle. The others watched, confused. He returned to the fire and carefully lit the arrow's tip. The arrow burst into flame, turning into a tiny torch. He set the flaming arrow onto the bowstring. The heat scorched his face, but he didn't blink. The wolves outside grew uneasy. The alpha stood up. The hunter did not aim at the pack. Instead, he aimed at a large dry bush far behind the alpha. He released. The fire arrow soared above the wolves, striking the bush. It exploded into a wall of fire. The wolves were trapped, panicked, scattering in all directions. The way out was clear. The hunter stared at the flames. He had learned to throw fire afar.
The bow is not just a weapon. It is a tool. It is a way to throw fire.
Inside the cave, the woman knelt at her work. She was deeply focused. In front of her lay a small, bright yellow frog already dead. Using a bone stick, she carefully scraped a thin layer of slime from the frog's back. She collected the toxin onto a flat stone. Then she picked up a sharp flint, tipped arrow. Gently, she dipped the tip into the poison. Meticulously, she set the poisoned arrow aside to dry. The bow hunter watched her quietly from the shadows. As she prepared the second arrow, a sudden noise at the cave entrance startled her. The hand holding the arrow trembled. The sharp flint edge sliced the finger of her other hand. It was a tiny cut. She froze. A single drop of blood welled up, mixing with the invisible poison on her skin. The bow hunter saw it happen. He realized the disaster. He rushed off desperately. Searching for old leaves and roots that might save her. It was too late. Her body stiffened, then began to convulse violently. She collapsed, foam forming at her mouth. He tried to hold her, but it was hopeless. The convulsions stopped. She was paralyzed. Hours passed. She did not die, but the poison had ravaged her body. Her right hand, once so skilled, was now curled and trembling uncontrollably. He placed an arrow in her hand, but she could no longer hold it. She was crippled. He had lost his companion. The bow hunter sat with the woman. The other hunter was also in the corner of the cave. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Small rocks began to fall. A deep crack split across the wall. The bow hunter lunged forward, shielding the woman with his body. The entire rock wall collapsed, sealing the passage completely. Thick dust filled the air. The three of them were cut off from the rest of the tribe. They were trapped in a pitch black chamber of stone. Total darkness. The air was thick with dust and growing thin. The bow hunter couldn't see a thing. The other hunter panicked. He stood up, stumbling against the rocks, disoriented. He found the collapsed wall and began pounding it with his fists. He growled and struck it again and again, wasting what little air remained. Breathing grew harder. The bow hunter stayed calm. His hands searched the floor until he found his bow. The bow hunter used his weapon. He shot an arrow toward the other man. It struck solid stone blocked. He turned and fired a second arrow into the darkness, toward where he felt a faint draft. This time, there was no sound of impact. The arrow flew far. He crawled in that direction. The arrow had embedded itself in a wall of soft earth, not stone. He grabbed the other man's spear and began stabbing into the soil.
No hard impact. No recoil. Just a sword stop.
The other man understood and started clawing with his hands. They dug frantically. A crack opened. Light and fresh air poured in. They had found a way out. The three primitive people emerged and looked down upon their old valley. It was barren. The forest was burned to ash. White bones lay scattered across the land. prey had vanished partly from fire. Partly from overhunting. All three were emaciated and exhausted. The woman, crippled, struggled to walk. The one-eyed man carried a bow he had learned to use it. They walked for hours, desperately searching for food. As dusk approached, they saw it a lone, thin stag nibbling on roots. It was the last living creature. Instinctively, the bow hunter slowly raised his weapon. Beside him, the one-eyed man did the same. Both hunters aimed at the same target. They knew the truth: the deer was too small. It could not feed all three. It was enough for only one to survive. No one shot the deer. Instead, both slowly turned. Their bows remained drawn, but now their arrows were aimed at each other. Hunger had shattered all cooperation. They were locked in a deadly standoff for the right to kill. Beside them, the woman, weak and trembling, lost her balance and fell. The sound startled the deer. It leaped away and vanished. Both hunters froze. Slowly, they lowered their bows. The prey was gone. The entire tribe was migrating. They had to abandon the barren valley. Weak and ghostly, they dragged their feet forward. Suddenly, the bow hunter stopped. Before them yawned a vast canyon, its depth invisible, blocking the way. The opposite side was too far. Below. A glacial river raged through the chasm. There was no way around. Behind them was hunger. Ahead, the abyss. The tribe collapsed to the ground in despair. The hunter gazed across the canyon. On the far side, he saw the roots of an ancient tree clinging to the rock. He turned back and took out all the precious stored tendons he had left. He ignored the tribe's hopeless cries. Sitting down, he began to braid. He joined dozens of tendons together, knotting them into a single cord, thin but incredibly strong. He tied one end to a heavy rock and the other to a special arrow made of bone, carved with barbs. He stood at the edge, setting the weighted arrow with its attached cord on the bow. He inhaled deeply, squinting toward the tree root across the chasm. He drew the bowstring to its limit, the branch bending dangerously. Then he released. The arrow streaked across the canyon, trailing the slender tendon line. It struck the tree and lodged deep in the bark. The cord had crossed. The tribe erupted in cheers. They used the thin tendon to pull heavier leather ropes across. Braiding three together, they built a crude hanging bridge. The hunter supported the woman as they stepped onto it. Many years passed. The tribe lived in a fertile new valley. They were strong and well fed. The bow hunter was now an old man, his hair completely white. His hands trembled, his joints swollen. He could no longer hold an arrow. The woman was gone. His son, tall and powerful, had become the new hunting leader. He carried a flawless bow and treated it as something ordinary. He looked at his frail father with thinly veiled impatience. His son led the hunters out. They did not stalk or hide. They had driven a massive herd of antelope into a sealed canyon. The old man, weak and leaning on a stick, followed behind, watching from above. He knew they needed only a few, but his son gave the order. Dozens of hunters raised their bows in unison.
We only need 5. There are too many.
Attack!
A rain of arrows fell upon the trapped herd. There was no escape. Dozens of animals collapsed. His son calmly shot again, killing even a young one. He laughed. They kept shooting until nothing moved. The old man was horrified. Hundreds of corpses lay piled together. His son's hunting party took meat from only a few, leaving the rest to rot. The old man staggered forward, approaching his son. He placed a trembling hand on the young man's shoulder. The son turned, angry. He shoved the old man hard. The elder fell backward, landing atop a carcass. The son turned away, leading the hunters off. The old man sat alone amid the carnage. He looked at the perfect weapon on his son's back. He had created a power, but he could no longer control it.